Alright, so if you guys are interested in hearing about all the wonderful mistakes I made when I was starting my business, stay tuned to this video because this one's going to be a doozy. Alright, so I just wanted to make this video for two very specific reasons. You're going to get a doozy in this one. The first reason is I want to kind of get all of the mistakes I made out there in the open so that you guys who might be starting a business or thinking about starting a business have kind of some idea of what to do or what not to do based on my misfortune. The second reason is that I like to keep myself accountable. I like to hold myself accountable for all of the mistakes that I've made and make sure that I don't make those again, because sometimes they can be detrimental to your overall performance when it comes to starting your business. So I just want to kind of begin by saying, you know what, if you didn't see the last video on how I started my business, go back and watch that one, because then the timeline of this video will make a whole lot more sense, and you'll be able to kind of follow along with you know how things progressed as the business was coming online. So the first thing I kind of want to get into is first big mistake that I made. Now, I'm going to try to slow myself down a little bit here because I feel like I'm rushing already. Again, another mistake. So back in 2011, and again, watch the other video, you get more of a timeline, but back in 2011, I quit my job. I quit my job to work here full-time, Morpheus Performance, get everything off the ground and get going. Now, the very first mistake I made was in advertising. So advertising your business obviously is very important. If you want customers, people need to know that your business is out there and that you provide a service or a product or anything of that nature. So back in 2011, the internet was still, I don't want to say it was in its infancy because it's about 10, 11 years old at this point, but newspapers, magazine ads, the yellow pages, all that stuff is still pretty big. So I quit my job in, I think it was July of 2011. I went ahead and took a bunch of money and I bought yellow pages ads. I bought a half page in the yellow pages. That was hundreds of dollars. I bought ads in the local newspapers. Again, hundreds of dollars. I went and put flyers up in various locations, and that again was hundreds of dollars. Now, when I tell you for 6 months after I did all that, I had zero business, I'm telling you I had zero business. I literally was just able to scrape by. And by scrape by, I mean I was utilizing my savings to live because the business wasn't making any money. 6 whole months of that. So, you know, you can imagine me regretting my decision of quitting my full-time job because now I lost my paycheck. I lost everything. I had no money. I had no money coming in. I had nothing until I made an epiphany, or I was going after the wrong demographic. If people are searching for a mechanic, they are not going to go into the phone book in the yellow pages. They're not going to go into the newspaper. They're not going to go into random flyers, whatever. You have to target your specific demographic. So for instance, I was targeting people who need their cars fixed. My advertising should have been, and ultimately became this, but should have been auto parts stores. You get in good with the managers there and they will let you put up flyers, they will let you put up all kinds of stuff, they will recommend customers to your business, and that was one of the things I should have done. AutoZone, Advance Auto, Napa, all those guys could have helped out. And I didn't do that at first. I did eventually end up doing that, but I didn't at first. Another thing I could have done was gone to, you know, various places and dropped flyers under people's windshield wipers, which ultimately I ended up doing, and that fared a whole lot better than all the newspaper articles and everything else. But I'll tell you what, the number one method of advertising that has gotten me the most business has been YouTube. And YouTube, I think, is the greatest source or the greatest resource for advertising, because especially now, it's like I call it YouTube University. If you need to know how to do anything, you click on the internet, you go to YouTube, and how do I change my water pump? How do I change this? How do I change that? And then you'll get a video like mine where, how do I repair the frame on my Jeep? Well, this is how you do it. And then somebody looks at it and says, oh, wow, that's a big job. I don't think I can handle that. Let me reach out to the guy that I saw on YouTube, because most YouTubers are pretty well accessible. You send an email or a voice message or whatever it may be, and you'll get a hold of us. So that has been my godsend. So that was mistake number one, is I put all of my advertising dollars in the wrong spot. And by doing that, not only did I waste money, but I wasted time, I lost business, and I was second guessing my decision for opening up the business in the first place. So that's mistake number one. Mistake number two, fast forward to 2012, 2013-ish. We're doing okay. The business is doing okay. Not making a whole lot of money, but surviving, paying the bills, everything's going well. I'm starting to get the advertising thing figured out, starting to get more customers in, word of mouth is starting to spread, and things are going pretty good. Well, I end up landing a very big account. That account was my previous employer. They had about 80 vehicles, and they needed somebody to service those vehicles. So I went in, put in a bid, won the account. So I got the account. Now we're talking 80 vehicles. These were various vehicles, anything from a minivan to full-size Chevrolet G vans and pickup trucks and all kinds of other stuff. So excellent account. Couldn't wait to get that account. So I pick up that account, start working. Everything's going great. Pick up a second big account in 2013. Again, everything's going great. We're getting good. But then I realized, hey, listen, you know what? We've outgrown the space that we're in. We started to outgrow the space that I was in, and we started finding that we needed more equipment. And I say we, it's just me at this point. 100% me. I start looking into expanding my business. And this is where mistake number two comes. I had two big accounts, was making tons of money, and figured, you know what? Let me get a facility that I feel is sufficient for what I'm doing. I went from about 900 square feet to almost 6,000 square feet, which came at a price. So my original shop, I was paying, let's just say $600 a month for that space. That $600 a month overnight when I got the new space turned into $3,400 a month. But we got a ton of work. We have two major accounts. We got money coming in. We can afford it. Everything is going great. It's good. I go ahead and refinance some of the assets that I own so that I can have the money to, one, put down the first month, the last month in security, which is over $10,000, and then move into the place, outfit the place, build it out to my spec, and get everything up and running and buy all new equipment and everything else. So now we're into it for probably another $40,000. So then we start rolling. Things are going good. I end up hiring my friend Sherry, which some of you guys have heard on the channel. You guys have never actually seen her, but you've heard her voice and seen her hands. I hire her to do all of the front office stuff, all the billing, all the paying bills, all of the customer interactions, all the scheduling, everything. And it's going great. So now we have her salary to worry about as well. Now, mind you, in all of this, we've got a $3,400 a month rent payment, and I am the sole provider for service within this business. Sherry brings in the work. She handles all the other stuff. I do all the work. And of course, as one person, you're limited on what you can do. So I'm working like a madman. So everything's going great. I decide to lease out a portion of the building to friends of mine, which we all know how that goes. That's another one of the mistakes that I made. Leased it out to them for a very cheap price. They were in a bind. They needed a place. I gave them, the space they needed. That turned into a whole nother ordeal. So everything's going great, right? We think everything's going great. Money's coming in, money's going out, bills are getting paid, everything's going good. But I'm noticing that I'm not really making a whole lot of money for myself, which I, kind of chalked up as to be expected. The business is still relatively new. We're only 2 or 3 years into this full time, and I'm not expecting to be a millionaire. So I'm not thinking anything of it. So one day, Sherry and I sit down and we say, okay, we need to know what it costs us every month to turn the key in the door on this business. And what we came up with is, with salaries, supplies, building costs, electricity, telephone, internet, all that stuff, we're looking at just under $12,000 a month in gross profit that we need to make in order to pay those bills. Now, $12,000 a month might not seem like a lot to some of you. Some of you that might be ridiculous. But $12,000 a month for me to produce as a mechanic requires me doing roughly 4 to 5 jobs a day that are in the probably $200 to $300 range of profit. So that'll give you 30 days at $200 worth of profit. You're kind of close to that. 30 days at $200 profit is what, $6,000. So $200 profit a day is not enough. So we need double that. So now we need $400 of profit a day. Then we need $600 of profit a day. So $600 a day will give you $18,000 a month. That covers the $12,000 and then covers, another $6,000 a month or so for me. Or so I thought. Every time I made a profit over top of the bills, it went back into the business. Whether it was buying new equipment, repairing the existing equipment that I have, focusing more on making YouTube videos to get drive the business, drive the revenue, and drive the customer stream in. All of this time that all of this is going on, and I'm making money hand over fist, and I think I'm doing great because I'm paying the bills, I'm taking a little bit of cash home in my pocket, I'm paying Sherry, everybody's happy, everybody's good, until we lose one of our accounts. We lose that one account, and it wasn't the end of the world. We'd still make it work. I'm like, okay, well now we have room to bring in other accounts. We have room to bring in other people. We have room to bring in other customers. But we didn't. We didn't have that room. I was working 12 to 15 hours a day. Got so caught up in dealing with these two separate accounts that I completely forgot about every other aspect of driving customers into my business. We were so hyper-focused because there was only two of us in making sure that the 120 plus vehicles that we were servicing were taken care of, that everything else around us, should we lose those two accounts, there was nothing. So ultimately what ended up happening was we lost the two accounts. And because I hadn't done my due diligence in making sure that I had a backup plan, couldn't afford the big facility anymore. So that was a huge mistake in the fact that we grew too fast. I based all of my entire business on two accounts. My livelihood was based on two accounts, without taking into account the fact that at some point in time, these companies were going to buy all brand new vehicles, and those vehicles would then in turn be serviced by the leasing company that they bought them from. It didn't even cross my mind. And that was something that, being new to the business world, I didn't understand. I didn't understand how a company could just go and ditch 80 vehicles, buy 80 brand new ones, and then have them all serviced by another company. But that's a thing, that happens. Anytime there's a fleet of vehicles in a company, the vehicles will start to cost that company more money in repairs and service than it would be to go buy all brand new vehicles and have them serviced for 3 years by the leasing company. And then at that point, after 3 years, you get rid of all those vehicles, you lease 80 more vehicles, and all those are serviced for another 3 years. So basically, if you do it right, as a large company with a large fleet, you could, for however long you want, buy all brand new vehicles and never have to pay for the service on those vehicles because it's handled by some of the leasing companies. Or if you do have to pay, it's at a heavily discounted rate because you purchased from that company. So, lost the account. And in doing that, here's where the biggest mistake came in. I tried to salvage everything that business was by just tossing money at it. I had all my savings tossed at it. I borrowed another $40,000 and threw that at it, and it did nothing. It did nothing but put me about $80,000 in debt. with no work coming in, bills I couldn't pay, and all kinds of other stuff. So I thought personally that that was the end of the story. That's it. I tried, I failed. I'm gonna go get another job, and just give up on this dream. But I couldn't do that. I didn't want to do that. I had this lifelong dream of owning my own business and making it into something that I could be proud of, that my friends and my parents and my family would be proud of, and that I could provide a service for other people that was much better than the service that was currently being provided. So I decided to stick with it. So what I ended up doing was I shut down the big shop, and by that point Sherry had found work with some other things that she was doing personally, so she was all set. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to downsize back down to the size that I was when I first started the business. A small little 1,000 square foot shop. And I'm going to do what I can with the lowest possible overhead. And that's why I learned from my mistake, is that I need to be able to provide this service with the bare minimum, and I need to invest my money in places where it's going to help to make me money. So things like investing my money in equipment, people, employees, parts, tools, things of that nature. Things that are going to actually make me money versus investing my money into the facility and making the facility super nice and, whatever else. Because let's be honest, a mechanic shop is a mechanic shop. It's dirty, it's disgusting, it's, greasy, filthy, whatever it may be. So I don't need to have this beautiful, pretty shop with a $15,000 or $20,000 office in front to make people feel comfortable. All I have to do is fix their cars and make sure their cars are well taken care of, because they're spending an hour at my shop. They're not living at my shop, so it doesn't need to be pretty. So I started learning. Well, I moved into that shop, the small shop, and there's another mistake. I went too small, because now, even though I had lost all of that business, I still had enough business that it required a facility that could hold 2 lifts. And in a shop that's only 1,000 square feet, it was like 40 by 24, I think it was. I couldn't get 2 lifts in because I couldn't fit 2 cars back to back. And as you guys know, in this shop, I do have 2 lifts because this one's a little bit bigger. So stayed about a year in the 1,000 square foot shop, and then moved into where we are now, which is 1,500 square feet, which gives me about 250 or 300 square feet for my fab area, which is in the back of the shop over there. It gives me the ability to have the lift you see behind me and a lift that's right here in front of me that you guys have seen me work on a bunch of times. And now we got the facility straightened out. We figured out what we needed for the facility. Now it was time to try to drive more business into the shop. And so that's when I started leaning on YouTube, you guys. Because I figure, you know what? I can make these YouTube videos. I can put them out on the internet. It doesn't cost me any money to make them, other than, of course, the camera and the other equipment and stuff that you need. But that's not really all that big of a deal. And we got Morty coming over here for some pets. That's not really that big of a deal cost-wise. So I figured, let me start putting out some of these informational videos. And one of the first videos that I put out, there he goes. I don't know where he's going, but he's going somewhere. One of the first videos I put out was on one of these Jeeps. It was I think it was one that was cracked, where the frame was actually cracked. It was a yellow Jeep. It was one of the first videos on a Jeep I ever posted. And all of a sudden, it just started hitting me. We need Jeeps, we need Jeeps, we need Jeeps, this, we need this fixed, we need that fixed. And now that's exactly what I do 100% of the time is Jeeps. And you're going to start to see a theme in these. And I'll tell you exactly what that theme is. It's a problem that I have. So now we start doing the Jeeps. Jeeps are going great. Jeeps are going absolutely amazing. Again, making money hand over fist. Everything is going really, really good. And my stupid, decides I'm going to outfit the shop with some really high-end equipment that I don't really need. But I have the money, I might as well do it. So I do it, and in the end it pays off. But in the end, that equipment that I purchased, I've long since sold, because being on YouTube and having companies come after me to test their equipment, all of the equipment that I purchased, if I had just waited a little bit longer, I would have been able to work with these companies and get the equipment at a much more reasonable price instead of buying it from the Snap-on truck or Miller or Lincoln or any of the. If I just waited a little bit, it would have been that much better. But I didn't. So, you know what? Hey, you can either call that a mistake or you can call that just circumstance, whatever you want to call it. But either way, spent a whole lot of money that I didn't need to spend. So now we're doing the Jeeps full time. Jeeps are going great. I figure I can do about 2 of them a week if they're normal. If I run into problems with them, each one of them will take me about a week to 2 weeks, depending on, what's going on. But I was jumping back and forth on the 2 lifts. I'd have 2 Jeeps, do one as far as I could, get another one done as far as I could, wait for all the parts and pieces and everything to come in, and then do more. But now here's a problem. I am now focused 100% on these Jeeps. And I notice, and this is recently, probably within the last year, I noticed that all of my general maintenance stuff is gone. It's completely gone. I got nothing. So now, what do I do if the Jeep thing dries up? Which I highly doubt it ever will, because the frame repair thing has extended from Jeeps to Toyotas to Chevys to you name it, it's out there. And I don't think I'm ever going to lose it, but you always have to have a contingency plan, right? And people are always going to need maintenance on their cars, but why am I losing all my maintenance customers? Well, it's because I'm 100% focused on these Jeeps. They take 100% of my time, to the point where I can barely find the time to answer the phone, answer emails, to book new work. I don't have any time because it's just me again, and I'm down to myself, and I'm so busy that I'm like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do now? I need to do X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah. Well, I can honestly tell you guys that one of the biggest issues that I suffer from is hyper-focusing on one specific thing and completely obliterating my view of the rest of the world that's going on around me. And so when these Jeeps started getting super, super busy, I focused in on how can I do them better? How can I do them quicker? Where can I find manufacturers? Where can I get different parts for these at better prices? Where can I, learn more about these things? Where can I do X, Y, and Z? What kind of equipment do I need? Do I need to build this, build that, do this, do that? And in doing that, I literally pulled myself out of being able to do work for other customers, for general maintenance work, for your normal everyday brake jobs and oil changes and stuff like that, the bread and butter work that comes in, and you make a few $300, $400, $500 on each job. I completely disregarded all of that. And even when people would call me, I wouldn't answer the phone because I didn't have the time to answer the phone. So if I'm not answering the phone, they need a brake job, they're obviously going somewhere where they can get a brake job. It's not something that can wait. So I lost out on a lot of that stuff, and to this day, a lot of that stuff is still missing. So the last thing that I kind of want to talk to you guys about is another thing that I've struggled with my entire life, and it's control. When I do a job specifically, and this is usually with me, it's my job that creates this problem. It's not me as a person itself, it's me as a person in this job. I like to have control over the work that I do. So for instance, if a customer brings a car in, I know that I touched that car, I did that work, I am 100% responsible for that job. Therefore, I feel that I can take the extra step, the extra mile, the extra whatever, to make sure that work is done 100% correctly and that everything is exactly where it needs to be. What I failed to realize is that over these past 2 years or so, I really needed another person here doing this work with me. And what I also failed to realize was that even if someone else is doing that work, I still have the ability to check that work. And if I hire the right person that's competent and cares as much about these customers as I do, then 9 times out of 10, when I check that person's work, it's going to be fine. And then also the caveat to all of this is that I make mistakes. Obviously, I'm making an entire video about mistakes, but there's no one here to check for my mistakes. I don't have a second person looking at the job that I did, telling me that I made a mistake and I need to fix it, which as a business owner, sometimes that's hard to hear. But you know what? With what I'm doing and the safety concerns and everything else, you need a second person to be able to look at you and say, hey, listen, you made a mistake and you need to fix that. So I didn't even have that. And there were a couple times where I made some pretty hefty mistakes, and luckily I caught them, but it could have gone very bad. So having a second person here, hiring somebody, was something I've been needing to do for years and just didn't realize it, because I figured, you know what? I'm going to hire somebody, I'm going to have to teach them everything that I know, and then they're going to do it their own way, and then I'm going to have to check everything, and then I'm going to have to redo everything, and blah, 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 blah. That was my brain trying to control the situation, when in reality, I need to hire somebody, teach them what I know, allow them to do it the way that they want to do it, the way that they're comfortable doing it, and then check to make sure that everything is good. And like I said, if you find somebody that's competent and cares enough about your customers, then the work you're going to get out of that person is going to be great. And if you treat your employee as a person, not a number, and you treat them as, you know, a part of your business and a part of your overall everything, then they're going to perform for you and perform very well and take pride in their work. So that's what I finally went ahead and did. I hired a friend of mine, Matt. You guys will probably see him in a video coming up soon, but I hired him, and he is so eager to do this work that he's going to work out amazingly well. He's been a guy that I've known for probably 5 or 6 years now. And in those 5 and 6 years, he's been begging me the entire time, let me come and work with you. I want to work with you. I want to work with you. I want to learn from you. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I finally took the plunge and I hired him. And I've only had him in for a week, and he's been amazing. He's been absolutely amazing, and it's been amazing. In the last week with him here, I personally have completed probably 10 times the amount of work that I've been doing previously. And we even knocked out a Jeep together way quicker than normally I could have done it on my own with all the interruptions. And we've got new work being booked and everything else. So, stupid me should have hired him 4 or 5 years ago when he kept asking, because it's been a godsend, and it's only been a week. He's only been in 3 days, and it's been absolutely incredible. So you guys will see Matt on the channel as soon as we get some more actual functional working videos in here. But I just wanted to take a minute to kind of give you guys a quick rundown. Not quick, this video is probably 30 minutes long now. But to give you guys a rundown of the mistakes that I've made in my career as a business owner, so that maybe if you guys decide to start a business, you're not going to make the same mistake, you know? So if we were to kind of like summarize this whole video, it's know the demographic you're going after. Then find the appropriate method to advertise to them. You know, a quick example would be, let's say you're a crafter. If you're a crafter, you want to be advertising on Etsy, YouTube, Facebook, craft shows, Michaels, Joann Fabrics, Hobby Lobby. You want to go after those places and try to get your name into those places so that you can get the customers you're looking for. You're not going to advertise that you're, a crafter at a car show. It doesn't make any sense, and that's what I was doing. Secondly, don't grow too fast. If you're a landscaper and you have 20 lawns and you're handling it no problem, and you pick up an account that has 20 more lawns, don't buy more equipment. If you've already got 2 or 3 lawnmowers, hire somebody. Hire another guy that can do those 20 lawns, invest your money in the employee, invest your money in expanding yourself and basically making a carbon copy of yourself so that now you can be in 2 places at once. Because you could be one landscaper with 20 machines and you're still not going to mow those 40 lawns any faster. But if you hire somebody, you will. That's something to consider. Don't expand your business too fast. Don't spend a ton of money, because a lot of times you don't have to unless you're in an industry that requires that. Put your money where it's going to make the most difference for you. If it's going to be in a piece of equipment, buy that piece of equipment. If it's going to be in an employee, hire that employee. But don't go crazy. Don't get 20 more lawns and hire 5 guys, because you're going to have 5 guys knock out 20 lawns in 30 minutes, and then they're going to be sitting around all day while you're paying them. So learn from my mistakes. Second, third, fourth, fifth, some of those. Whatever business you're running, choose your facility wisely. If you're running a craft business, you can do that out of your house. You can build a room in your garage, you can build a room in your basement. You don't need to go rent a $10,000 a month space to do your crafts and then try to figure out what's going on. Know what your business can handle, know what your business can do. Understand that as your business progresses, you're going to need to make decisions wisely, not based on how much money you think you can make. Wisely. The business itself is an animal, and it grows. It grows and it grows and it grows, and then it falls a little. It falters. It fails. Certain things fail. Certain objects fail. Products might fail. Services might fail. You have to be ready for that. I wasn't. I wasn't ready for that. You're going to fail in certain aspects of your business. You just have to kind of chalk it up and move forward and then learn from that mistake. But overall, I made a lot of mistakes in this business. And even to this day, I mean, I just hired Matt a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And I've needed to do that for the last 3 years. And I just did it. And then even still, now I'm trying to figure out how to operate within my business without having to do every single thing. Because now I'm free to do more of the business work, more of the phone work, more of the email work, I'm free to do that stuff now. So now I have to learn how to do all that stuff. You know, I have to learn how to make it all work and how to make it profitable and how to make, you know, Matt profitable and get more work in here so that he stays busy and that I stay busy and that, you know, everything else. So it's a process. It's always a process. And now here we are in 2022. The business is technically 11 years old from full-time status, and it's finally starting to work out. It took 11 years for this business to finally work out the way that I want it to work out. It's huge. It's huge. It's going to take time. It's going to take money. It's going to take a lot of stuff. You're going to make mistakes. And within those mistakes, hopefully you're going to learn something and then be able to improve upon those things. I'm out of Pepsi. The dog is out of patience. And I think that kind of gives you a glimpse. I mean, that literally just a glimpse into all the crap that's gone wrong in this business and all the stuff that's gone bad. But in all of this, I guess the one thing that I can say I didn't make a mistake with is that I've always pushed to make sure, camera overheated on that one. All right, so in all of this, I've always pushed to make sure that my customers come first. They're always taken care of. Nothing has ever been neglected. Nothing has ever been catastrophically made mistake-wise when it comes to actually how a customer's vehicle has been treated. So that's one thing that I can say I've done very well over the years, is make sure that my customers are well taken care of and the service that they receive is top-notch. So aside from all the stuff that they never see, that you guys now know about, I think we've done pretty good. So on that note, I think I'm going to go home, edit this video, and shoot it up there so that you guys can laugh at me. Or you guys will be able to say, hey, listen, you know what? I started to make that mistake in my business and I need to stop. Or I need to learn from it, or I need to whatever. But I hope you found this interesting. We're going to do some more videos on, you know, the clerical side of the business and what it takes overall to get this stuff to work out. I know you guys are super interested in it by looking at the comments on my last video about how I started this business. And If you can deal with me saying the word business 4,000 times to the point where I sound like I'm drunk, then hey, watch more of them. It'll be great. Next video, I don't know what we're going to do for the next video yet. Maybe we'll introduce Matt. Maybe, we'll bring in another Jeep. We'll do another Jeep or something of that nature. But anyhow, thank you so much, guys, for watching these videos. I really appreciate it. I really hope they help you out. My goal has always been to educate, and I hope I'm doing that. So have yourselves a wonderful rest of your weekend. It is Sunday afternoon right now, so I'm going to go home and edit this video, get it up there, and hope you guys like it. So have a good night, everybody. We'll see you later.